if you haven't met me before, my name's Melissa. I'm the founder of Improve Yourself. I'm a nutrition coach, and I also run women's retreats as well. And yeah, this is Women's Health Sessions, and thanks for joining us tonight. So I started running women's health sessions 3 years ago because I was running retreats and finding women were having these amazing experiences, and there was all this beautiful community and connection and how much women support each other. And I thought, okay, what more can I provide? And I was getting feedback, and it was like, we need to do these things more often. So obviously we can't all do retreats all the time. So that's where the idea of women's health sessions came up. So they're run once a month. So the first Thursday of every month, they are run at the Flourish Centre. And if you want any more information about that, it's in the pinned post in this Facebook group. And I got a different speaker every month, which was so exciting and is still exciting because I'm still running them. So the first hour I do, we do a bit of life, women's stuff, a bit of health, nutrition, and then the special guest speaker talks on all different areas of women's health, well-being, holistic services, movement, anything really. And I'm always open to new stuff. And then I thought, like, we went through COVID and we couldn't have women's health sessions for quite a long time, obviously. So I was like, why are we not doing this online? And I don't want to wait a month, so why not do this weekly? And so our live chats Tuesday night, 7:30. So every Tuesday night, different speaker. And I'm very excited about tonight's speaker because she's actually come to 3 of the in-person sessions, women's health sessions, over the last 3 years. And as I always do on these Tuesday night calls, I try and remember how I knew and, you know, where my connection is with this person. And I've been racking my brains of how I found Lisa. But I think it was my business partner that I had at the time. I think she found Lisa, and we got her to the first women's health session that we ran, one of the first women's health sessions that we ran, and we were just blown away with the session to the point where, like, everyone had goosebumps and we were all like, what? It was just mind-boggling. And I'm pretty sure it was numerology, and I can't remember. I've been trying to look through my stuff because it was 3 years ago, what the other half of her session was about, but we were all like, oh my goodness, she's amazing. So we of course got her in again last year, and I got her in again this year. Last year was straight off the back of COVID, and we did spirits, guides and angels, and we had a sellout. We were actually full to capacity. People were like hanging outside the room to get in to see her because it was such an amazing session. And then we've had another one this year as well, which was super exciting. And then I'm really excited because I get to have her on here as well. So, so I would like to introduce you to Lisa Nicole Throssell. She's a shamanic, hopefully said that right, practitioner, Ascension Facilitator, Reiki Master, registered nurse, and all-round metaphysical worker and director of 11 Principles, a holistic practice located in East Vic Park. She is a medium and intuitive since childhood. Lisa uses the gifts of clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsentience. I can never say that right. Coupled with the ability to traverse a variety of non-physical realms to help her clients achieve health, harmony, and happiness through a range of holistic-based healing modalities. Her specialty is clearing negative energies, including emotional and spiritual blocks with ties to curses, past life influences, entity attachments, childhood trauma and abuse, familial patterns and behaviours, other difficult conditions. Lisa has been successfully using sound, light and crystal healing to assist her clients with their healing processes for more than a decade. And I can also vouch for her services because I've had them as well, which was, I think, last year. Or yes. So welcome, Lisa, and thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to be on to talk to people about all things spiritual and looking forward to some interesting questions as well, if people have got some things they'd like to know.
Yes,
and
we'll definitely
let's get started.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that some people will throw some questions on here, and then that way we will, and I've got it all up in front of me. I'll ask you if any come through, but before everybody starts sending some through, I've got a really important one. What's your favourite food?
Gosh, that's a bit hard, isn't it? There's so many interesting things to eat. I would have to say I'm pretty keen on broccoli, to be honest. It's really good, but also pumpkin. Pumpkin's one of those things that you can use in so many different things. I've been to the States and they have it as a pumpkin pie, which is far too sweet for my liking, but pumpkin's very versatile, and I think, if I had to pick something that was a one-off thing that you couldn't go wrong with, it'd have to be pumpkin, like a butternut pumpkin.
You've actually said one of my favorite things. I love butternut. I actually have it, like my husband and boys will have potato, and I'll always opt for pumpkin because I think it's way better. Yeah. Pumpkin chips are awesome. I don't know if you've made pumpkin chips, but they're so good.
I should try some of those. I'm taking a big pumpkin with me up north this week, and I'm going to make a big pumpkin soup in the camp oven, so that will be great. Slow cooked over the fire.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Be nice.
So how come you're going up north?
Going up to do a bit of healing on the land, to receive a bit of healing for myself as well. Get back to being out in nature. So I'm actually camping in my swag. I go pretty rough when I go. I've got a normal car. I don't even have four-wheel drive. So I'll be going up to Geraldton first to see some family and a couple of friends, and then off to Wurrumal Springs. I'll probably stop somewhere in the bush on the second night, and then going up to Wurrumal Springs, which is about an hour, a bit over an hour's drive southeast of Carnarvon. And I'm meeting one of my Shamanic Practitioner friends. She's coming down from Exmouth. So we're just going to spend some time walking the land, getting in touch with the spirits that, the custodians of the land that walk with us as well, and the plants and animals, and just have some downtime. Yeah, so it'll be great.
And it'll be warmer.
It'll be a bit warmer. Although it's going to be raining the first couple of days, and it's like, as you can see, we're all rugged up. It's so cold.
I know.
Cold here in Perth.
Apparently
tonight.
It was like a 16 maximum today, and I was like, I thought it was really cold. I just didn't realise winter has hit.
Bit too chilly, really.
Yeah,
all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm not really good with the cold weather. I love summer. I love being able to be outdoors. I'm a real outdoorsy person. Yeah. So are you all right if I just shoot you some questions? I'll wait to see if any more come through. At the moment, I'm going through Facebook, and that kind of gives me the opportunity to just, rattle off some. So I'd love to know the story of, so you've sort of said about how you remember experiencing stuff like this from an early age. So can you remember the first time that you kind of knew that there was a gift or an ability that you had, but you just didn't know exactly what it was? So I don't think I've ever asked you this at Women's Health Sessions.
There's, a lot of my childhood, there's quite big blanks, which comes from the fact that, you're off with the fairies, as they say. Daydreaming's a form of, going into an altered state of consciousness. So when you get the reports to say, could try better, always looking out the window, or, daydreaming too much, you're often talking with spirit and being in a spiritual state, and your brain waves change when you're in that vibration. So you can get a lot of guidance, you can get a lot of wisdom, a lot of ideas. A lot of people who are good artists are in that sort of state too when they're creating, because it's that feminine side of us that is the creator energy. I can remember an interesting story when I was young, and I don't particularly remember it, but my mum's recalled it a couple of times to me, is that when I was about 9 years of age, I put a piece of chicken wire under my bed, the whole length of my bed. It was a piece of, you know, just chicken wire with the connections like that.
Yeah.
And she said that I kept it under there for about a year. And I said, you know, she was allowed to take it out to vacuum, but it had to go back under there because it was very important. And then after about a year of it being there, I said, I'm finished with it now. You can take it away. It's done its purpose. And I've tuned into that time to work out, you know, what was the reason for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, as we understand, metal has a different vibration. So, you know, gold and silver are often used as colours when we're putting healing around our body. And we can use it for, in like colloidal silver, to clear away bacteria and things in the body as well. So it has a very significant sort of vibration. And the idea of putting that under my bed was for protection. So it was providing a physical barrier for energies coming up from the earth. So wow. Everywhere we go, there's, you know, ley lines, there's energy lines, song lines, as we would know from the Aboriginal culture. And, you know, the earth has its own vibration, its own energies, and sometimes they're not so good. And you can feel them when you go to certain places where there might have been, you know, massacres or fighting, or, you know, sometimes cemeteries can feel a little bit daunting and a bit uncomfortable in that way, because that's the sort of the energy that's being given off from that land. And yeah, so sometimes we need to be a little bit more aware of what's going on in our surroundings, so that when we're feeling anxious or nervous or worried about something, it might not actually be about us. It might be what we're picking up from what's going on around. So it's important to make sure you've got some sort of protective energy. I call a responsibility shield, and I can put a link to that if people want to try that.
Yeah.
And we start off with the pink and gold, because they're the colours of love and compassion, and also that gold is of high vibration. So that allows us to have a buffer zone from the quantum field. So where you can see all those beautiful lights behind you, if you could imagine that they were people's thought forms, so what they've been thinking, you know, if they've been angry, they're angry thought forms. If they've been happy, they're kind and wonderful sort of energies. And they're not so much of a problem, because they're not going to harm us in any way. But where there's been, you know, negativity, and we're talking about, you know, what's happened last year throughout the world, there's a lot of fear. And so a lot of people are picking up on that fear. And it's not actually their own fear, but it's exacerbating their own worry and concern. And that can cause a lot of physical issues, as well as, you know, mental and emotional, you know, mood problems as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah, lots of interesting things did happen as a child.
Lots. Mind-boggling, really. You know.
And, you know, sometimes it's not safe to actually, you know, be a little bit different and do strange things.
I know, right?
For instance, for instance, I used to be able to read minds, and you know, not knowing that it was an invasion of privacy, which I did after a short time, was, you know, people would come to say something, and I would just say, oh, you're going to say blah, blah, blah. And they would just stand there with their mouth, you know, dropped down, because it would be, and I could see the words, you know, sort of coming out of the side of their head like a bubble, or just know what they were going to say. And, you know, when you start to learn about things, you realise that that is quite offensive for people. It's also an invasion of privacy. You know, it's like peeking in through someone's window while they're getting unchanged. You know, it's like you just don't do it. So that sort of skill, or that sort of ability to tune into what others were thinking, gets, you know, got turned off fairly quickly.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's not right to be doing that. But you know, I can still use a similar sort of skill if people are, you know, working with me and I'm working with them, to help perhaps bring out something that they might be a little unsure about, or a memory that they can't quite grasp. If it comes up, you know, in some sort of visual form or word form, then I'm able to sort of tease it out, I suppose, and help them to remember, and for us to work on those issues. Because a lot of things are from, you know, childhood, where, you know, we felt unsafe or unheard, or you know, bullied, or, you know, sort of in a state where, you know, we don't feel loved for some reason, whether that's in actuality or whether it's just our little soul, you know, needs more than we were getting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back when you said about how you feel like people are picking up on the energies of what's going on around the world, and I guess the fear that we've been having to be exposed to, having, is that the right way? You know, is there a way where we can protect ourselves from that if we don't have all your skills and experience?
Yep, sure. One of the things is realizing that you're not a victim, that you're not weak, that you're not able to be invaded or, you know, set upon. Because if we have those sorts of feelings because you know, something might have happened to us, but we've continued along with that sort of feeling or that belief, then we're leaving ourselves open to attack from you know, bullies, you know, human bullies as well as energetic bullies. So people that are, you know, the vampire drainers, you know, when you've been on the telephone and with a friend, for instance, and you hang up and you think, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted now talking to her. I just feel like my energy's been taken. Well, you've actually allowed your energy to be taken. Nobody has permission to take anything from you unless you give it on some sort of level. So the first thing is setting some boundaries in place. You know, I'm a sovereign being, you know, I've got my own energy. I choose to keep it for myself. And I can allow the God source or the universal love and light, whatever you want to call the creator energy, to flow through me, and I can share it with others, but nobody has a right to take it from me. And I'll stand up and say that. So as soon as you really make a stance in that way, you're already putting out an energy that says, don't mess with me. You know, I'm not here to be your punching bag energetically. I'm not here to look like a colander and allow all my energy to drain out to you. So we have
like, if you're really feeling high vibe, like you're, you know, feeling really great, you have no stress, your health's really good, high vibe, you don't get any kind of energy vampires that came near you. You don't sort of feel it. It just kind of bounces off. But if you've, you know, too stressed, haven't slept enough, haven't been eating as healthy as you need to be, doing all the good stuff, then you can, I don't know, receive that, you know, really feel exposed and feel that, like you've been.
And you're vulnerable when, you know, when you're feeling a little destabilized, whether it's like you say, you've been unwell, you're tired, you're stressed, any of those things, it decreases your own vitality and your own vibration. So what happens then is others around can sort of feel that weakness, or if they're, you know, they may, that might be the way they survive, is taking the energy off other people. That might be why they're so healthy and vital, because they like being the center of attention and they just suck everybody else dry. And that's okay if they're always in large groups, because if I take a little tiny bit from you and a little bit from the lady next to you and a little bit from the man next to you, then none of you are really going to feel that, you know, drained. But if I'm just around one or two people all the time and I need to continue living in that way, you know, sucking everybody dry, then those people are going to get very depleted of energy, and you know, they're going to start getting mental and emotional issues, and they're going to feel it in their physical body because it's just going to be draining. So we have a responsibility to ourselves to put those boundaries in place and to you know, affirm that we're you know, not going to allow that to happen, and to look after ourselves. Because the more you look after yourselves, we're going to be healthier. and we're going to be able to, you know, push those situations that are difficult and challenging into a state of they're good lessons. You know, whatever a challenge is can be a really good lesson if we're able to rise above that and say, well, why did that happen? What was my role in there? Did I, you know, give over my power and let those people do that? Because one of the most important things is that nobody is responsible for how you feel.
100%.
Nobody is responsible for how you feel.
Yeah.
You choose to feel like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big things with, you find people that have got a bit of a victim mentality is, or she made me feel like that, or he did this, blah, blah, blah. And that's giving away your power. You can say, I chose to feel upset by what you said, because then you're actually owning it and you're saying, I let my guard down to let that offend me or worry me. But, you know, one of the biggest things that, you know, I try and say people is other people's opinions about you are none of your business.
I know, I love that. I love that. Especially for me, like I used to worry so much about what other people thought. And I was, reading a book, I think 3 or 4 years ago, and I heard that and I was like, oh, yeah. And what they're seeing a snippet of you anyway, and, you know, who really cares? Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, people will judge others based on what they're judging within themselves. Yeah. So, you know, if they're saying, oh, that person's, you know, this, you know, too fat or too skinny, or they're, you know, too bossy or whatever, you know, when you're pointing the finger at somebody, remember there's always 3 fingers pointing back at you. Yeah. So there's often something for you to learn there by looking in, and it's not always easy. You know, sometimes you've got to say, hey, you know, maybe I am feeling a bit, you know, unheard, or I'm feeling a bit critical about something within me, and I'm, you know, using the mirror of people around to reflect that. So it's not their fault.
Yes. And I think when you figure that stuff out is when you really do progress in your own personal growth, when you see that. You know, you do. And you're looking within instead of looking without. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can really tune into your own, you know, psychic abilities and your own self by really being grounded in your body and, you know, being happy in your home. You know, we're spiritual people, you know, having a physical existence. So, you know, our body is like our temple or our, you know, our place, and we need to be in our body in order to be able to start interacting with our environment as well, and receiving those little inputs, you know, like the buzzing in the ears, or the goosebumps, or the, you know, the touching of the hair, or the, you know, shiver up the spine. They're all, you know, signs of our sort of psychic awareness. You know, we could say that's a very ancient, basic awareness as well, in a, you know, sort of almost an animalistic way. But animals are actually quite tuned into their environment, and they receive all those feedbacks from their environment, which helps keep them safe and also helps them find food and all of those things. And a lot of humans have lost those basic abilities because we turn it off. You know, we're told, oh, you're not talking, you know, not talking to invisible friends, or, you know, don't do this, or don't feel that, or, you know, stiff upper lip and don't cry when, you know, something's there. And we also, you know, especially as, you know, parents, you know, we treat the child in a way that we don't empower them a lot. You know, so if a child falls over, you know, and starts crying, you know, the thing is to, you know, race in and nurture them and go, oh, I'll fix it, I'll take your pain away. But as kind and loving as that is, it's also then disempowering that child. You can be of assistance by helping them, saying, you know, let's rub your hands together and put it over your knee. Oh, doesn't that feel really good? You know, I'll put my hands on the top. Can you feel that nice energy? That's, you know, you're healing yourself. Isn't that amazing? Because then the child is able to go, well, oh, you know, I can do that for myself. I'm not always continually running out to seek saving from somebody outside of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think that, yeah, I think the parenting is a whole nother topic. I do have 3 kids, but I think there's so much new information out now of how to parent kids that I wish was around a long time ago when I had my first few. But with my third, he has so much of a, and I think I've talked to you about this. So he has his intuition and his senses and everything are so strong, and he doesn't have doubts about what he's experiencing or what he's aware of. Whereas, you know, my whole childhood and adulthood always, well, that can't, you know, that's weird, or that's different, or, you know. And it's funny how we've sort of parented him differently, and he doesn't have, we never sort of stopped him from those things, you know. And he's been called weird, you know, on and off over the years, but I think it's also because he's felt free to you know, be able to really understand that and be sure of himself with whatever, you know, he came up with.
And, you know, it's wonderful that you've been able to help him embrace his uniqueness, because
but not really knowing what we were embracing, just that, you know,
trust, you know, trust and giving, you know, putting in some boundaries to say, well, if you step over this line, then there's going to be consequences, but within this field of exploration, go for it. You know, instead of saying, oh, be careful, to say, go out and have fun. You know, it's like, trust yourself and to know what, you know, how far you can go and how far is too far. And so many of the children, you know, in the last, you know, 10, even 15 years have come from totally different energetic backgrounds, shall I say, star systems, planets, etc. And they have a totally different outlook on life. And they're not quite so burdened with the old ways of, you know, our parents, for instance, you know, set in the World War, you know, that experienced world wars and other things, you know. So, yeah, they've got a different sort of freedom and a different sort of hope and creativity. And when that's nurtured and allowed to, you know, to shine, it's amazing, it really is amazing. And they will be the saviours of the earth. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, because they have a different, way of being.
And it's up to us older people to just support them. You know, and to nurture them in the way and give them some of the freedom to express themselves.
I think it's hard though. Like, my son's just got to high school last year, and you can just see that how much that is taken out of him from being in high school. He's like losing his sort of connection to that. And it's like, oh, you know, homeschooling is a whole nother, but you can see the difference if we could do things a bit differently, I think. But that's another story. I wanted to ask you about energetic attacks, because you mentioned it and I've written it down. Do you believe that we can get energetic attacks from people that we've just met without even really having a conversation with them or really getting to know them? Like, how does that work? Does somebody know that they're doing that? Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to, I've just had this thing happen, and I'm wondering, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see places like that.
Look, sometimes things can be conscious, and somebody maybe purposely, for instance, you know, gossip is actually a conscious attack. When someone says, oh, look at her, I think she's sleeping with the boss, or whatever, whether it's true or not, that putting out of those thought forms and those words and then garnering, you know, other people's support, then is actually a psychic attack on that person they're talking about. And you can often see it in offices where somebody is getting, you know, picked on by a range of people, and they get very, very ill and have to leave. You know, it happens all the time. Because that is a type of energetic psychic attack, if you want to call it. A little bit like, you know, the new chicken in the, you know, in the chicken pen. You know, they're all just going to dive in and, you know, rip it to pieces. And people do that energetically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's actually a conscious thing, because people choose to gossip. It's one of the worst energies. And it's very malicious and it's very detrimental to everybody. Sometimes people don't realize that they're doing things, and that's often because it can be a pattern of survival. For instance, they may have had to sort of take energy or stand up for themselves or throw energetic darts, for instance, because they were in a family where there might have been lots of kids and they didn't get any attention, or there was violence, or there was feelings of unsafety. So sometimes people can have those needy responses, and all they're really doing is trying to survive the way they know how. So that is an unconscious response. Then we have things where there might have been a past life connection. So you've been in a life with that person again, and you don't realise or recognise it or notice them this lifetime, but energetically the two of you know. And so, for instance, worked on a lot of past lives with many, many people, and it can come in the form of a physical injury that doesn't seem to repair, and you can clear out the past life energy related to that, and that pain and suffering sort of goes away. If that's been inflicted by somebody in another lifetime, and it wasn't just an accident, for instance, or an unknown thing, where you can bring sort of forgiveness, then you don't often have to replay that part in this lifetime. So if you met that one person, say for instance, that fired an arrow through your body, and you were able to actually forgive them, then if they come across you in this lifetime, then there's not going to be that animosity there, because you've already done the work. If you haven't done the work, or you're not aware of it, or you're not consciously working through some of your ascension levels, or bringing things to the surface to be healed, and actually doing it on a sort of a more systematic sort of way, and being in tune with your body and checking in with things, then when you meet somebody like that, and there's for instance, you may have harmed them badly, unrequited love, for instance, or some sort of betrayal is a very big one that is hard for people to get over, and they come into your life this time, and there's going to be that playing out to say, this is unresolved, and so it will give you a massive mirror, and that might be, oh gosh, I feel really sick now, I've seen that person, I don't know why, and you get the churning of the stomach, and you get the heckles up the back of the neck, and you just think, oh God, I just don't want to go near that person. And that's basically your energy system saying there's something that's not right.
So how, because I had exactly that, what you just said a few weeks ago, and this person hadn't done anything, and it was just the weirdest lifetime, and it just came over me, and I couldn't shake it. And yeah, so what do you do? Like, what would have been a good thing for me to do? Because I couldn't shake it, and I couldn't get rid of it, and the person seemed fine, so it wasn't like they weren't doing anything, but it was just like my body was taking over with this reaction to a person, and I didn't know. I didn't know what to do, and I tried all the things I would do. So yeah, what?
Like the first thing is definitely to acknowledge that you're feeling something that is not a commonplace thing, or and it's not in a response to a trigger that that girl bullied you at primary school or something, because that's that would be a normal response to say, oh, I feel really sick around her because she
I wasn't triggered.
No,
I hadn't done anything. We had just met. There was you meet some people and you just they're not your kind of people, right? It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was this whole, and you just said like your stomach churning, heckles in the back of your neck. you just like, this just fits, it just felt so wrong, and I just hadn't, I don't know, and I'm like, okay, what's going on?
The first thing I would do would be to shrink the energy cord in your solar plexus. So that, you know, when we feel that real churning in the stomach, it's often because there's been, you know, a strong connection before, and the connection might get quite large. You know, sometimes, you know, I've seen something the size of basketball, really, that was a massive big connection, but you want to shrink that right back down to like a thin spider web sort of size, a thin silver cord, because that gives you a little bit more control over the situation. So
is that thing you taught us where we go like that?
Yeah, shrink it, yep, and then put a clamp on it, you know, like a bread clamp or something. So what that does is gives you a little bit of control, saying whatever's going on here, you know, I'm going to take it in my stride. I'm going to, you know, work out sort of what's going on, but it's not, I don't want it to overwhelm me. So that would be the first thing. The other thing would be to go, well, there's no reason why this person is a threat to me now, or for anything that we've, you know, that I've connected with. So must be a past life. So one of the things you can do is just silently, energetically say, you know, I forgive myself for whatever I've done to you in another lifetime. I forgive you if you've been the protagonist for anything that's happened. I send love and light between us. Anything like that, where you're saying, you know, I'm grateful for the lessons, you know, help me integrate whatever it is I need to know, and let's clear the animosity between us. Yeah. And that, you know, just doing that will often bring about, you know, a massive change, because it's just a mirror. It's just a mirror to say something's been left undone. And we don't always, you know, we can't always tune in to go, oh, well, hang on, you know, I took her, you know, another lifetime she was a man, and I took her wife and ran off and left them. You know, I mean, you can do that if you come and see me. We sort of often go in and tune into things like that, as you would remember. But, you know, not everybody has that ability, but you feel, you're psychically tuning in to something there and getting the sensations in your body, which tells you that it's real. You know, it's not an imaginary thing. Yeah. And so it's
it's funny, because I found myself putting my hand over my tummy, because I was actually presenting. And so I was putting my hand over my tummy, and I was very aware that I was holding both hands to sort of like cover, and then I thought of you, and I was like, I can't do sniffing. I'm in the middle of presenting, I can't sniff. So yeah, you know, it's interesting that that I was trying to think, okay, what do I do? So would they have felt that? Would they have felt that as well, or would it have just been me? Like, does generally the other person,
if they were the protagonist, like they were the person who had actually, you know, bullied you or harmed you or whatever, they may not feel it quite as much. They might feel, you know, drawn to come over and harass you, or to stand in your space, or, you know, for some reason sort of come over, because it's a little bit like, oh, hang on, I remember this person. I'm going to go give her a bit of a reminder of the thing, you know, of what, you know, that I was the boss, or I was in charge. But unless you were the person who was harming them, they probably wouldn't feel it as intensely. They would have an understanding of why they needed to be around you, because we all just play a role in each other's plays. You know, we're the director of our own, you know, Shakespeare, or, you know, whatever play you like. And so if we can then work out, why does this player need to be in my play right now? What's the reason for that? Then we can sort it out. You know, we're not inept and stupid and, you know, not working in a spiritual way to, you know, just have the universe be continually shitting on us. It's not the way it works. You know, we actually have lots of choice, and we forget to make those choices, and we forget that we're amazing beings that have so much power. because we try and dumb it down a little bit to fit in, or to, you know, to not upset people, or to not make waves, and without, you know, without
and
sort
also
of
feeling
invading other people's. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like not wanting to feel overwhelmed by taking on this. Yeah. So can you tell us a bit more about tuning into abilities? Like,
yeah, sure.
How does that work?
Yeah. Look, one of the really important things that I would, you know, encourage people to do is actually learn what your inner voice sounds like. So a lot of people are getting psychic, spiritual, you know, wisdom and advice coming into them all the time, but they don't know. They just think it's their own brain, and it's actually not. You know, our brain is just a receiver for, you know, ideas and other things, and a lot of that comes from the cosmos, or it comes from our, you know, soul star, which is up above our head, and you know, that's where our soul resides until we're actually doing some ascension work, and then our soul moves into our physical body, and then we go beyond that. So we end up being soulless, not without a soul, but more of a, you know, cosmic consciousness. So we move into a different level of understanding, and, you know, connecting with people in love and light. But people don't know what they sound like. So I would encourage people to sit quietly. You know, it's not about sort of meditating all the time. It's, you know, stilling your mind does help you to hear things, but it's not the most important thing. Sit quietly and then actually tell yourself some things that you know. So it might be going through the shopping list. So for instance, if I was doing it for myself, I would sit there and go, okay, I need milk, I need bread. Oh, that one's going to be nice. It's got extra seeds. So I'm actually listening to how that sounds inside. Does that make sense? I'm not talking it out loud. I'm saying it in my mind. And so you end up with an idea of the nuances, you know, the rhythm, the types of words you use, the sort of the pitch, the tone. It all has a specific feel and tone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so then when you hear something else, you go, oh, that didn't sound like my voice. Then you know it's not you that was saying that. You can, because you're aware of what you sound like, and go, oh, that doesn't sound like how I would say that, or that sounds different, or it's using a lilting sort of language. And then you start to be able to go, oh, who's that? Who is that? Who are you? Can you give me a name? Are you, you know, from unconditional love? That's always a good thing when you're doing a lot of this work, is to check that whomever you're talking to, whether it's your guardian angel, spirit guides, that they actually love you unconditionally. That's very important, because there are a lot of imposters, as there are in real life, you know, people pretending to be people, you know, whom they're not. So it's important to check, you know, are you from unconditional love? That's the only people I will let in. And so when you start to hear something, it's also important that those who do love you unconditionally will never coerce, manipulate, ask you to do something that you feel uncomfortable about. And if you tell them to go away, they will, and they won't be offended. If you hear something and it's sort of saying, oh, well, you need to listen to me, or I come from God, or, you know, if you don't do that, then this, you know, bad thing's going to happen, you tell them to go away quick smart, because they are not unconditionally loving. The unconditionally loving, you know, beings that work with us, and they can be celestial beings, you know, energies from the stars, our beautiful angels. They can be our totem animals that can actually talk to us, you know, physically as well. We can hear them. They will always give you a choice. If there's somewhere you might ask, you know, help me out with this, I, you know, don't know whether I need to do that, or, you know, what can I do? There will always be a choice, and it's up to you to make the choice. There will never be, you must do this. You might feel inside that you must do this, but that's your own, you know, your own soul saying, hey, you know, we've got to, you know, go in this direction because this is what I need to do for my service work, or to heal, you know, to heal my childhood, or to help my family. And you have a feeling inside, but that's not somebody else telling you that. That's, you know, tuning into your own path and your own plan.
So when it comes to that, the more we do it, the better we get at it. Is it kind of like flexing muscle? You're going to grow that muscle of, like, you know,
it sure does, because it's a trust. It's building up a relationship. So for instance, if we're working with our guardian angel, the more we ask them to assist us, the better and quicker the results are.
Yeah.
And the more, you know, the more expansiveness we have. So for instance, you know, all my family know about the parking angel, and most people may do, you know, in some families know about that, is that when you want to go somewhere and you need a parking space, is you ask the parking angel, you say, right, you know, I need one about three parking bays down from that front entrance, and, you know, I'm going to be there in 10 minutes. You often do need to give them a bit of time, because they actually have to tap on another angel's shoulder to get their person to then go and move their car. So, you know, sometimes it can't be instantaneous, because humans actually take a little while to get the picture, you know, so needs to filter in, and start by doing things like that, you know. And it's a little bit like when you're shopping. If you've got to go and find a dress for, you know, a fancy do, and you haven't got much time, you say, right, direct me to the place, to the shop where I'm going to find something that is going to be beautiful. And
oh,
you know,
what a great way of shopping.
Yeah, I did that once for a ball. I realized, you know, when I went to the cupboard, that the thing I was, you know, the outfit I was going to wear was really not appropriate. And so it was basically, you know, 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I basically had to be at the thing that night. And so I went, oh my gosh, you know, okay, take me to the shop, and I need it to be, you know, under $600, and it's got to look fabulous, and it's got to fit. And the first shop I went in, bang, there it was, exactly what I needed, and I was done in like 15 minutes.
Do you think this is what people are calling manifestation?
Yes, yeah. And, you know, some of it is sort of knowing what you want, but it's also having faith and trust.
It's going to be, going to have it. Like, you just know it's going to happen.
Yeah. And of course, you know, when you have faith and trust in yourself and your helpers, you know, they sort of get on and do it. But we have to, for many people, you have to start off with small chunks of things, like the parking angel, like the, you know, traffic lights. You know, I need to get somewhere within, you know, half an hour, and just so to say, look, I really need to go gently and easily and make my way, you know, in a helpful way, and do things that aren't so spectacular, I should say, so that you build up your own trust, because it's not about that those things can't happen and that you don't deserve them. It's actually that you don't trust that you deserve them.
It's
so
funny,
we start off small.
Yeah. So my youngest, he can do stuff like that all the time, and he just knows that it's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen, I can tell, because he said it out loud in a different way, like he wasn't actually convinced. And when he always manifests me, we say manifest, so, but you know, he always manifests me a car parking spot. And if he really wants something, he'll create it. But sometimes the stuff he does, like, it's spooky. It freaks us out, because he says it with so much conviction, and then it happens, or something happens in the house, or there will be, you know, something just strange will happen connected to what he's just said, and we're just like, what just happened? Yeah.
And it can be instantaneous, and it can be really,
he's been doing it for such a long time, and he has that, you know, belief in that it's going to happen for him, and whereas I'm like new to it, and I'm like maybe not 100% convinced. Is that, do you think that's?
And the thing is, when you're tuned in with that, it's normal, it's natural, it's not, you don't have to push it, you just know it, and you embody it, and that's what it's all about. On my trip last year to Uluru, you know, we sort of called on the nature spirits and the animals of the land to help us on our way, because we went a bit of a weird way and ended up going round this waterway that took us basically 2 days to get 200 kilometres. And I think one day we were doing 30 kilometres an hour average, and then the next day was 50 kilometres an hour. So, you know, a very long time to get a short distance, but there was always obstacles and other things in the way. So we asked the, you know, the spirits of the land and the birds and things to help us. And the birds would come from whatever side there was going to be an obstacle. So I'd be like watching out for things, go, oh, bird from the left. So we'd move to the right-hand side of the track, and there'd be a branch down, or there'd be a big pothole, or there'd be rocks. And so we were just constantly going backwards and forwards, going, oh, big patch of birds from the right. And so we'd sort of like stop the car or slow right down. And when we got to the night time, they were replaced by the moths. So the moths would be coming at a, you know, a steady speed in front of us, and we'd know that the pathway was okay. And when there was moths coming very, very fast, we'd know that we had to slow down. Or coming over from the left, we'd, you know, move to the right. And so it just became a natural way of being. So sort of in tune and watchful and mindful and grateful, very, very grateful, that everything just flowed. And for, you know, most of that time we had absolutely no mobile coverage. There wasn't one other car on the road, or had been there for months and months. One place we went through water for 2 or 3 kilometres. So if things hadn't been natural and trusting and having faith that we were okay, it could have been very disastrous.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, when we're tuning into our, you know, heightened awareness within our body, and not from a triggering point of view where, you know, we've been the meerkat as a child, looking out because there's danger, because that's actually learning to feel safe within the body and clear away those triggers. When we're able to, you know, feel the movement and to sense, because our body is a great sensor, so we can feel that little churning in the stomach to say something's not quite right here. We get the little heckles, women in particular get the little heckles on the back of the neck, which when you look at dogs, when they feel uncomfortable around someone, all their hairs grow up on the back of the neck. So it's a very ancient skill and a very ancient way of looking after us, and we should never ever turn that feeling away and ignore it, for instance, because I say ignore it at your peril, because it's your mechanism. And even if other people around you say, oh no, he's okay, you know, I know him, he's a great bloke, if you feel uncomfortable, you must trust your instinct, because the other people may not have an issue with that man, but you may, you know, energetically be, you know, getting sort of manipulated, or there might have been a past life, or he's just an unsafe person for you. And so you have to trust that. So there are plenty of, you know, ways of connecting in with our psychic abilities just by listening to our body. Our body is a barometer, you know, it will let you know. If there's pain in the body, that means there's something that's already gone from a thought through an emotion, and now it's trapped in there. So why is it hurting? Tune in, ask it what's going on. What are the emotions associated with this? If it's, you know, a bung knee, you know, what have I done here? And people sometimes will go, oh, it's because I'm overusing it. The body, if it's looked after properly, could live for 200 years. It is so amazing. It can regenerate if we're giving it what we need. So it's not about I'm overusing it. It's about what am I not giving it so it can do what it needs to do. It's the same with accidents. You know, oh, I twisted my ankle. Yeah, but why did you twist it?
Yeah.
You know, what was going on already in your life, and what was going on with that about stepping forward, you know, taking a new opportunity, getting on with it, you know, moving in that sort of direction.
Oh yeah.
You know, why has it done that?
the things I've looked up, that secret language of your body, and I've looked up and oh my god, that's why that happened. Show that to clients and they're like, what is that?
And it's the same with car accidents. You know, if you happen to be in a bingle of any sort, you know, pay attention to where, you know, did you run in the back of someone? It means you need to slow down. You need to watch what's coming up. You're, you know, helter-skelter, running too fast ahead with a decision. If it's come from the side, how have you got off track? You know, if it's run from the back, what are you procrastinating about?
Yeah.
You know, why are you stopping when you need to be going? So we can take signs and, you know, understanding and wisdom for everything that goes on around us if we choose to.
Yeah.
And we're all capable of gleaning that information, but we just don't take the time, or we sometimes don't think we're clever enough, but we are. Everybody's got those skills.
On another tangent, do you think that we have not this question's not about like a destiny, but do you feel like if we're in a situation that's bad for us, or that something will happen if we don't change it? So like it gets taken out of your hands because you didn't, you know, correct it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Look, sometimes we get given signs of what, you know, what might be, for instance, with what you're talking about. Let's say you're in a bad relationship, you know, your partner's dismissive or disrespectful or, you know, violent, and your soul is trying to say, what do you need to learn about this? You know, are you going to keep putting up with being disrespectful? Why are you disrespecting yourself that you think other people can treat you in that way? And we can get given some exit points, I suppose you could say, from that relationship where someone, you know, a caring, loving friend acts as a walking angel and says, I'll give you a hand, or can you know, help you get out of this relationship, or, you know, you can come and stay at my place, or we'll get you to a refuge, or do whatever. And if that person, that, you know, woman, for instance, feels like she can't do it at the time, that might be one of, you know, one of the boxes ticked off as that was a chance, but you didn't take it. And there's no judgment there, because everybody has their own time for things. And if we're not working on our own childhood issues, we will continue to treat ourselves in a bad way. And there was an interesting thing I read once, is that we will only leave a situation, for instance, in that sort of way where someone's mistreating us, if it gets to a stage greater than the mistreatment we're giving to ourselves.
Interesting.
So, for instance, if I think my life is, you know, not worthy and I'm stupid and I'm useless, it will have to be a fairly big thing that will then make me, you know, that's over and above all of that sort of feeling to actually get me to take it, you know, a chance and move into something unknown, because it's safer to stay where I am. And it's comfortable to stay where I am,
supposedly,
even if it's a horrid situation, because I know it.
Yes. And
moving somewhere else is unknown, and that can be scary, even if it can be a really great situation.
Yeah. And then what, you keep getting opportunities, do you think, that until something kind of like slaps you hard in the face?
Well, it will, and I think it's our own self that does that. It's not the universe, it's our own soul that says, right, by this time, you know, we're going to give you a chance to, you know, I'm going to give myself a chance to get out of this, and I'll give myself, you know, a few instances. But if by this time I haven't sorted it out, and sometimes we can co-opt other people, for instance, you know, if you were my friend, and we were back together in our, you know, heaven space or our angel land, whatever you want to call it. And I said, right, Melissa, you know, we're coming down to this life, you know, we're going to be friends and what have you. If And I've got some really important things to learn, and I want to be able to go in this direction. So if by the age of 40, I haven't started writing my book or going off and doing this or whatever, I want you to give me a really hard time. Will you do that? And of course, you would say, when we're back in angel world, wonderful, I love you so much, you're my bestie. Yep, great, I'll do it. So poddling along, getting some, interactions and things, not making the choice. So all of a sudden, getting to age 40, still not making the right choice that I've already said. So in comes Melissa, my friend from, lifetimes and lifetimes. And so then you will create that and go, right, slap, bang, slap it around, smack it into place, remind you 100 times, drag you out of the situation, cause some sort of illness or whatever, because you've asked me to do that, because you've been procrastinating. And so there will be either somebody we co-opt in, or something will happen to us because our soul will go, been trying to tell you, but you're not taking it on. So let's make you sick. So you end up in bed, and then you will have to sit with your own memories. You will have to sit with your own energies. You will have to replay things and work out what's going on in your life and make some changes, or you will continue to be unwell, for instance. And that's a very common one.
Yeah, you see that, don't you? I see that.
You do all the time. Yeah.
Do you, this is a weird question, and I probably asked you at women's health sessions, but I couldn't remember. Do you, well, there are some questions coming through, so I'll just check them. But this is mine. So do we have family members that have passed still around us, or do they move on if they don't need to be around us? Like, how does that work?
Both. Sometimes you'll find that family members stay very close for quite a long time. So they may, come back and be very supportive and be, instrumental in the family for quite some time, where the family might be still grieving, or they're, learning something from that and they want to be supportive. Other times, if the person who's passed actually has some more learning to do, they might have had a bit of a tragic passing and they can't really be of assistance to the family, then they need to go and do their learning, go and do their healing, etc. And then they can come back at a later stage, which is why when people often go and see a medium or somebody who's, tuning into the spirit world, they'll say, I'm sorry, you want to see you talk to your dad today, but he's not here. And that can be because the channel is not the right, you might be on 6PR and your dad's on 96 FM. So, it's the wrong person to talk to. Other times it might be, well, they're still in that phase of learning and growing and healing before they can come back. But even if they've, there's a part of us that stays. It's a bit like if you had a book. Imagine you were a whole book and each chapter is a different life. We can still access wherever we are. That book still has all of those different lives in there. So it's in my understanding, and I have experienced this quite a lot, is that even if a soul has reincarnated, you can still access the part of them that was the person you knew.
Yeah, right. Even, yeah, okay.
Okay, so for instance, granddad has reincarnated as a little boy in India. I can still talk to my granddad, even though he's now physically a child in India. Yeah, because that's just another chapter of the book, and the book doesn't, the book has all the chapters all the time. So if we knew what our granddad's previous life was, or previous to that, we could tune into that if we wished.
So
but we often don't know that.
how would I be able to know if there was a family member around me? Would that be something I could pick up, or would I need to go and contact someone like you to help me with that?
No, oftentimes you would be quite well aware or capable of tuning in and picking up that someone's with you. Sometimes when you get the little feeling of somebody touching your hair, blowing on your face when there's no air moving. Sometimes you might say, for instance, be thinking of your nana or whatever, and you smell. You think, oh, I can smell roses, or
that's
that
exactly
smells like
her
perfume, or some sort of smell of baking or something, and you go, yes, I know 100% that is them, because it's no coincidence, it's synchronicity.
Okay. Yeah.
And sometimes you might be thinking of someone and their favorite song comes on the radio. They're things just to let you know that that person is really with you. And start up a conversation. Start talking to them, even if you don't get any answers back, first of all. And if you get buzzing in an ear, the really important thing is to first acknowledge that you can hear that. Oh, yeah, I can hear that buzzing in my right ear. Yes, it's getting louder. Great. Because what happens when spirit is trying to tune you in is, what we normally do is, I can hear buzzing, but I say nothing. So they're trying to tune to a radio channel when they're getting no feedback. They'll go, okay, let's try 6IX.
Yeah.
All right, let's try, 96 FM.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we don't know what channel to go on. The person's not telling me anything. So they will keep, zooming backwards and forwards to try and improve it. But as soon as you start saying, I can hear that buzzing, I'm acknowledging you're there, they go, oh great, we're at least getting close, and so they can start working with different movements to sort of tune you in so that you can hear them.
Years ago I used to sit in like an office. It wasn't a cubicle, but I was like in my own area and no one else was around, and I was sitting there and I was like working away on my computer, and I leant over, I got something out of my drawer, and then I was just like hit with this smell. And it took me a while, because my nan's been passed for a while, and many years, and I was like, oh my God, that smell, that rose perfume smell, smells like my nan. And it just wouldn't go when it was there. The smell was there for about a good half an hour before it left. And I just kept having those prickly things, and it was on my arms, and I just was like, I feel like she's around. But I didn't think to speak out loud or like to talk to her, I guess. I did speak out loud to someone else, but I remember thinking, oh yeah, it's so
and you don't always have to speak out loud to them, because of course everything's telepathic in that sort of way, or energetically interaction. But it's like saying, I can smell that rose perfume. Nan, that reminds me of you. Are you here? And you'll feel a bigger wave of energy.
Oh, okay.
Or something will pop into your mind, and you can just sit with that feeling and just know that you're getting that psychic cuddle from her at that time.
Yeah.
So interesting things happen. There was a beautiful man that passed away in Kalgoorlie, and he had a massive funeral. The most people I've ever seen at a funeral. He was just a larger than life guy, and he was really, really loved. And he was in about his mid-60s, I think, when he passed. And he had a little weiro bird at home that loved him dearly, that used to sit on his shoulder all the time. And after he passed, that little weiro was really missing him a lot. And he would walk along on the mantelpiece, and he would just knock over his photo. Wouldn't knock over any of the pictures of the grandkids or the others. He would just knock over his dad's photo. Yeah. And so his wife would always know when he was around, because the bird would knock over the picture. Yeah. So there can be little signs. Sometimes feathers will drop down, and that that's somebody that you loved, or angels around you. There's different things that will let you know.
We've got to be looking out for the signs, don't we?
The signs, yeah. And if we ask for something and it comes, then be grateful for it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, thank you so much. That feather's just dropped out of nowhere. It happens to me all the time. There are no birds in the sky. I'm not even near a tree, and a feather will drop out of absolutely nowhere. okay, it might have come on a wind, but you just go, well, okay, there's nothing much around.
Yeah.
Always grateful. Thank you so much for the gift. Thank you so much for the connection. Thank you so much for the communication, whatever it is, because you know what it's like when you don't say thank you, you won't get offered it again.
Yes. I remember you saying you've been telling me that for 3 years. Lisa, we've got a question here, or a comment. Getting back to our own childhood trauma, how can we ensure our children feel loved, valued and empowered?
Great. Okay. Very, very important. One of the things is acknowledging that they are a spirit or a soul in that little body. So the spiritual side of them has a lot more wisdom and knowledge and understanding than the little physical child. So sometimes we have to sort of step a bit away from treating them like they don't know anything, or that they're, you know, at an age where they're not competent of doing things, and actually ask them better questions. What are you feeling? Where do you feel that inside you? What do you think you could do to make that better for you? It's about being able to ask them the right questions, because the children will have the answers. We as adults just don't ask them the right questions. So for instance, when I've got you know, children that come into the clinic here, you know, I've had ones as young as 3 or 4, and they, you know, they might have some sort of spiritual experience, or they're having some sort of physical or emotional unrest. And I will ask them to, you know, use their inner eyes, you know, their inside eyes. So it's their intuition basically, but use your inside eyes and scan through your body and tell me where there's something the wrong shape or the wrong color or the wrong size. And they always know. They'll go, oh, something's here. And what color does it look like to you? Oh, it's like brown. Is it meant to be brown? No, it's not meant to be brown. Okay, well, let's work together on that to make it the color it's meant to be. I'll help you and we'll work together. And then you tell me when it's the right color. And they'll go, oh, it's a lovely orange now. Fantastic. What a great job. You've done a wonderful job there. Because children, if they're allowed to be confident within their body and feel safe, they've got a lot of healing abilities that us older people have forgotten about. And by the time our cellular systems have already got into bad patterns, you know, our livers are overloaded, our, you know, intestines are full of clogs of stuff that's not moving through. If children can, and one of the things I get them to do is, you know, rub their hands like that and to feel their energy, you know, and let them know that that's their own healing energy, that's their own ability to do that. So if they hurt themselves, rub their hands together and put it onto the part that's hurting, and know that they have the ability to heal themselves like that. So it's about using, you know, using their own wisdom and asking them, where does it feel out of balance for you? What do you think you can do to help that feel better? Because lots of the times they will know amazing answers that will actually gobsmack anybody around. It's like, you know, they understand sometimes about magnetic things and the moons that go around Jupiter and the names and things, and they've never learnt it. You know, in this lifetime at primary school or whatever, they just know. So they're tuning into that higher wisdom that comes through their soul star chakra and from, you know, the cosmos and other places. But they're not afraid to allow that to flow in and just to know it as it's natural. You know, just encourage them to you know, to have the confidence to speak up and never ever, you know, doubt what they're saying in a way. You know, work out what they're trying to say. If it doesn't sound like it's something, you know, that you can understand, ask enough questions and say, I don't quite understand. Let me ask you some questions so that I can see what you're seeing, or I can know what you know. and use it not as an interrogation, but an interest. I'm interested in what's going on for you. You know, let me tell you about my day, and I want to hear about your day. And asking, you know, what was the best thing you did at school today, rather than how was school?
Yeah,
that's going to get you, okay. You know, be inventive and really listen, and don't interrupt. You know, when they're talking, don't you know, it's like sometimes we need to have a talking stick. You know, you're talking and I won't say anything until, you know, I used to jump in all the time because I was excited, you know, and I've had to really calm it down and go, no, that person's talking, they're holding the talking stick. You know, I just imagine it's their turn to talk, they're holding the talking stick, and then pass it to myself, and now I can talk. Because when we're really listening, we're not working out what we're going to say next.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so yeah, the talking stick's a good thing.
Yeah. We've gone heaps far over time, so
gosh,
I know what you and I are like when we're talking together.
Yes,
well, you've done most
wonderful.
of the talking. Can you just explain like your services and what you do, and how you help women? Well, I know you help women, men, children, everybody, but for the women in this community, in this Facebook group, just talk about your services and what you provide.
Yeah, sure. One of the key services that I find is really life-changing for women in particular is what I call reclaim and reintegrate. So it's bringing back all of those parts of you that you gave away to your mother and father, or stepfather or whatever, up to about the age of 7. And up to 4 in particular, because we function as that small child needing to fit in with our tribe, our family, and we still have the, you know, the reptilian brain at the base of our skull there, that feels still connected to that. In the old days, if we got exiled from our tribe, we died. So that is still very active today. So if we don't fit in, we're not accepted, we don't look like them, we don't think like them, breathe like them, etc., there's a very real chance that we're going to get kicked out and then we're going to die. We actually won't in this country, but the little child doesn't think of that consciously. So we start giving away parts of ourselves so that mummy and daddy like us more, and, you know, we give away some of our beauty so that mum feels, you know, happy. We give away our vitality so that people don't feel as sick, etc. And we can give away our calm and our peacefulness if dad's angry, because if he's less angry, then, you know, he treats us better. So we're ending up looking a little bit like a colander, you know, full of holes, and our energy just drains out, and it continues to drain out until we, you know, heal it up at whatever age we end up doing that. And sometimes we never do. You know, I've seen women in their 70s and they've never addressed any of it. What's even worse than that is we start taking on the belief patterns, whether they fit us or not, all of the energies from our parents as well. So we take dad's anger on, we take mum's insecurity, we take on the financial burdens, we take on the worries of the world, etc. So then we end up with a big coat of burdens. So now we're not only draining out our energy like the colander, we're also carrying all these other responsibilities that actually aren't ours. So the reclaim and reintegrate basically addresses all of those issues. So it clears the way for you to be yourself and your parents to take back their stuff if they wish to. Sometimes they won't, and I can see that generally in the session, whether they're going, not taking back my anger, you know, dad's standing there in his in all his glory. Have that?
I think we did something similar with me. Yeah, yes. I hope they freaking took their stuff then.
Yeah, well, if they don't, the most important thing is that it's out of you and that it's separated from you, so you're not responsible for it anymore.
Yeah,
no
weight on the shoulders. Yeah,
exactly. And how somebody else chooses to deal with their own issues is really up to them. We can't make somebody else heal themselves, for instance, or think in a certain way or behave.
It's not our job. It's not our job.
No, it's not our job. We sometimes think it is, but it's not. So that's a really important one. I do a lot of shamanic work too, you know, for people who've got other parts of themselves off in other dimensions, whether they've got what are called hitchhikers. You know, they might have been to a hospital or somewhere or felt uncomfortable sometime or something liked them and they got an energetic attachment there. Things like curses, you know, we can often have curses that run through family lines. There's been quite a few of those that come about. And just, you know, anything that people need, you know, it might be chakra balancing if they still got chakras. A lot of people have got a column of light now. They don't specifically have chakras, so they feel, you know, it's no good me, you know, talking about chakras or doing whatever because I just don't feel like I have them anymore. So, you know, whether people want to learn more about their soul and sort of ascension work, you know, working at a higher vibration, understanding that, yeah, there's all sorts of things that I can help people with. You know, most of the sessions can be a little bit mix and match if people need, you know, we need to do a little bit of past life things to clear, you know, clear out pain in the body. That will be part of it too. So
I think that's what we did a bit of a mixture for me. Yeah. And
that's, you know, that's often the way because it's you know, we're complex people and there's often, you know, multitasking going on. And, you know, we might be hiding a little bit over here and, you know, running something, you know, off too far in that direction. And, you know, we can get a bit discombobulated. So our energies can be all over the shop. So, you know, repolarizing everything, making sure all the polarities and the masculine and feminine sides are happy. Yeah, there can be all sorts of things, you know, just making sure all the spiritual centers are lined up, connecting to the soul star and the earth star so that you're nice and grounded. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities for all sorts of stuff. And it's always fabulous because everybody's different.
Yes. Must be the best part is that everyone's coming in with different stuff and you're working on different things. Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, it does. And I've just finished you know, clearing the space of a big mansion in the UK. So I did that sort of distantly. So that was a big 7-room place in Hampshire, and that had two ghosties with it from the past. So yeah, it's nice to be able to you know, help those lost souls move over as well, because that's all part of being of service to the earth. Because anybody who's sort of stuck on that earth plane that needs to, you know, go back to their spiritual, you know, roots and back to their soul family is always, you know, great for the community. The people obviously living in the house love it, but it's also, you know, earth work as well. You know, good for the earth. So,
wow, mind blowing. So your business name's 11 Principles, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So if it's all right with you, if you can pop your links under this live when you get off, so everyone can go and Facebook stalk you.
Right.
Your website is it 11 Principles is the name of your website?
Yes,
correct.
.com.au. Yep.
And then if you can put the links in underneath, I think even if people didn't get to watch it tonight, they should hopefully watch the replay, and please #replay if you do, so we know that you're watching it after. Yeah, pop your links in there so people can get hold of you and connect with you and yeah, speak to you.
And I'd love to put a link in there to a little you know, little 5-minute sort of meditation that people can do to sort of calm anxiety and, you know, get back into their body and be sort of aware. So I call it Feel the 5. So it's about the 5 senses of the physical body. So it brings people back if they're, you know, feeling a little bit panicked or just want to, you know, really tune back in and be in the moment. So I think that's a good recording.
I like the idea of that. I had to, I love working with clients, but I had a day of clients back to back and I was just like hypo, silly, excited, and I couldn't ground myself, and I was like trying all the things and it wasn't working. I saw my post and I was like, I put my post up the other day and I was just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to concentrate? I can't concentrate. I'm like, I was so hypo, and I just had all this stuff you know, I don't know what was going on, and I was just like, stop. Normally I have a shower and all that goes off, and I was like, it was happening and I wasn't in the shower. I was like, stop.
Yeah, well, that, you know, that sort of hyperactivity can really get the brain overloaded as well, and when you're not grounded, you're sort of up in this, you know, this area of just sort of thinking.
I felt like I was going
thoughts
crazy.
can just go away from you. Yeah.
I was like laughing at nothing. Like everything was making me laugh. And I was like, is this a good thing
it's
or
not
a bad thing?
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you post a link for that, I might watch it after this.
Sure. Sounds fantastic.
Oh, I really enjoyed tonight. I know we've gone heaps far over. Thank you, ladies, that have stayed on with us tonight. I really appreciate it. I've got a big thank you from Deborah Matthews.
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, Deb.
She said that was fabulous. Thanks, ladies. And Becky Bell was such a great, insightful chat. So thanks, ladies, for that.
Wonderful.
We love feedback. We need feedback. So feedback's awesome. So if you can pop your links on there so everyone can check it out. And if anyone is watching the replay, #replay, so that we know. And if you really liked listening to Lisa chat tonight, pop a comment below and I'll try and rope her into another one in 3 or 4 months' time. I'm pretty good at doing that. And I know that Lisa likes chatting.
I've just picked a beautiful card from the Spirit Junkie.
Yes.
It's beautiful cards that call the Spirit Junkie, and it's all about what we've been talking about. I communicate with ease and grace. People are willing to embrace what I have to say. So it's about you know, speaking up and knowing that your voice is,
of course,
you know, is your expression of yourself, and that you have, you know, that you have important words to share with people. And so don't be afraid to speak up. So that's for every woman who's felt a little bit like, oh, I better keep my tongue or not say what I feel, because your feelings are important, and you need to validate them for yourself.
Yeah. And hopefully having communities such as the Women's Health Session today is
supportive.
Because that's what we're all here for, right? Supportive and being able to say whatever comes out.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks,
and you know, sometimes people will be triggered by things, but you know, that's their triggers. So you can either help them to realize that, you know, you're just the messenger, and if something's triggered them, then there's work to be done. And it's not about criticism, you know, it's about trying to work out where we need to change within ourselves so that that balance and harmony comes to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, Lisa. And thank you all you ladies that joined tonight. Really appreciate it, and for hanging on so long. Lisa's more of a chatterbox than me.
If you can imagine that.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody. Keep an eye out for a link from Lisa.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye.
Thank you.